I'm sitting in the barber shop last month, and the man next to me, 62 years old, still working. You know, the kind of fella who gets up every single morning at 5:30 and does it without complaining. He looks over and says, can I ask you something? How much am I supposed to have saved? Because everything I read online says 2 million. And I've been working since I was 23 years old, and I don't have anywhere close to that. He said it quiet, you see. Like he was embarrassed, like he'd failed some test that nobody told him he was taking. So I asked him, well, how much do you have? He said, about $280,000. And he looked at me like he was waiting for me to tell him he was broke, like he was waiting for the bad news. I said, brother, do you know what percentage of American households actually have $2 million saved for retirement? He shook his head. I said 1.8%. He just stared at me. I said, you didn't fail anything, man. The number failed you. And I'm going to explain exactly why. It's what this video is about. The $2 million retirement number that the financial industry, the media, and every online calculator keeps shoving in your face, where it actually came from, why it's wrong for the vast majority of Americans, and what the real number looks like for regular people who worked real jobs their entire lives. I'm also going to show you exactly how much people actually have saved, because when you see the real data, you're going to feel a whole lot better about where you stand, or you're going to get angry about the system that sets you up to feel like a failure when you're not one. Hit subscribe right now because this channel breaks down retirement with real numbers, not scare tactics. I do this every single week, no products, no selling, just the truth. And if you're anywhere near retirement age, you need what I'm putting out here. Don't sleep on it. Let's get into it. So first, let me just show you what the actual data says. Because nobody shows you this. The articles throw around 2 million like it's a normal number, like that's what regular people have sitting in their accounts. Well, here's reality. According to the Employee Benefit Research Institute, and they pulled this from the Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances, which is the most comprehensive financial survey in America, only 1.8% of U.S. households have $2 million or more saved in retirement accounts. 1.8. That's fewer than 2 out of every 100 families. If you're sitting in a room with 100 couples, maybe one and a half of them have hit that number. The rest, not even close. You want to know what's even wilder? Only 4.7% have $1 million saved. Less than 5 out of 100 households have crossed the $1 million line in their retirement accounts. And if you go to 3 million, 0.8%. Less than 1 in 100, you see. Now here's the number that actually tells the truth about where America is. The median retirement savings for families headed by someone aged 55 to 64, people who are right there at the doorstep of retirement, is $185,000, not 1.8 million, not even 500,000, 185 grand. And for households aged 65 to 74, people who are already in retirement, 200,000. That's the median, That means half of all households at retirement age have less than $200,000 saved. And it gets worse. Over half of all American households, 54%, report having zero dedicated retirement savings. Nothing. No 401k, no IRA, no nest egg at all. More than half the country is walking into retirement with nothing but Social Security and whatever they can scrape together, right? So when you see a headline that says you need $2 million to retire, well, you know what? Ask yourself this. If 98% of households don't have it, is the number wrong, or did 98% of Americans fail? I know which answer makes more sense to me. Now here's where it gets kind of infuriating, because that $2 million number didn't come from nowhere. And once you understand where it came from, you're going to see why it was never meant for you, in the first place. Every year, companies like Northwestern Mutual and Charles Schwab and Fidelity put out these surveys asking Americans what they think they need to retire comfortably. The 2025 Northwestern Mutual survey said the magic number is 1.26 million, down from 1.46 million in 2024. Schwab's number has been as high as 1.8 million in some years. But here's the thing nobody tells you about those surveys, you see. They're not asking how much you actually need based on your expenses, your income, your Social Security, your health. They're asking how much you feel like you need. And when you've been fed a steady diet of fear for 30 years, every article, every commercial, every advisor telling you it's not enough, save more, you're behind. Of course you're going to say a big number. You've been trained to be scared. That's the point. The financial industry makes money when you're scared. Scared people save more aggressively. Scared people buy more products, annuities, insurance policies, managed accounts. Scared people don't question the 1% fee because they think they can't handle it themselves. Fear is the business model, right? And that $2 million number? It's the scariest number on the shelf. I'm not saying saving is bad. It's not. Saving is the smartest thing you can do. But there's a difference between smart saving and fear-based saving. Smart saving is based on your actual numbers. Fear-based saving is based on a number some survey made up to sell a headline, So let me give you the real math, because the industry won't do it for you. They'd rather keep you scared and contributing to accounts that charge you a fee every single year whether your money grows or not. The average household headed by someone 65 or older spends about $57,800 a year. That's from the Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Expenditure Survey 2022 data, which is the most recent complete set. Now that includes everything: housing, food, transportation, healthcare, entertainment, all of it. About $4,800 a month. Let me walk you through what that looks like. You see, when you factor in Social Security, the average retired worker's Social Security benefit right now, January 2026, is $2,771 a month. For a couple where both are collecting, that's somewhere around $35,000 to $45,000 a year in Social Security income alone. Let's call it $40,000 for a married couple with two average benefits. Annual expenses, $58,000. Social Security income, $40,000. The gap, the amount your savings needs to cover, is $18,000 a year. That's it. 18 grand. Not 2 million, not 1 million. The gap is $18,000 a year for the average retired couple. Now you apply the 4% rule, or better yet, a more conservative 3.5% withdrawal rate, To cover $18,000 a year at 3.5%, you need a portfolio of about $514,000. To cover it at 4%, you need $450,000. That's the real number for an average American couple with two Social Security checks and average spending habits. Somewhere between $450 and $515 grand. Is that 2 million? Not even close. Not even in the same zip code, right? Now, if this math is opening your eyes, and I know it is because nobody breaks it down like this, hit subscribe. I do this every single week. Real numbers, real people. No fear-mongering. This channel was built for the man in the barbershop. It was built for you. Drop a comment right now. How much were you told you needed? And how much do you actually have? I want to see the gap between what the industry told you and where you really are, because I bet most of you are a whole lot closer to being okay than anyone ever let you believe. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Charles, what about healthcare? What about inflation? What about long-term care? What about a market crash? Yeah, those are real concerns. I'm not going to sit here and pretend they don't exist. But let me put some actual numbers on them instead of just using them as fear. You see, healthcare. Fidelity estimates that a 65-year-old couple retiring in 2025 will need about $300,000 for healthcare costs over the rest of their retirement. Sounds terrifying, right? But that's spread over 20 to 25 years. That's $12,000 to $15,000 a year. And most of that is already baked into your Medicare premiums and the out-of-pocket spending that the BLS already counted in that $57,800 annual expense number. The BLS data shows households 65 and older spend about $7,500 a year on healthcare. That's already in the budget. It's not some secret extra bomb sitting on top of everything. Inflation. Real. Serious. But Social Security has a built-in cost of living adjustment. The 2026 COLA was 2.8%. It doesn't perfectly match inflation every single year, but it tracks in the same direction. Your Social Security floor rises with prices, you see, and your portfolio, if invested even moderately in a mix of stocks and bonds, has historically outpaced inflation over any 20-year period. Market crashes, also real. Sequence of returns risk is the biggest mathematical threat in the first 5 years of retirement. But here's how you manage it. You keep 2 to 3 years of that gapping out in cash or short-term bonds. On an $18,000 annual gap, that's $36,000 to $54,000 set aside. That buffer means you never have to sell investments during a downturn. That's not a $2 million problem. That's a $50,000 buffer problem. Long-term care. I'll be straight with you. This is the real wild card. A private nursing home room runs over $100,000 a year, but the median stay is about 12 to 14 months, not 12 years. About 7 in 10 people over 65 will need some form of long-term care, but only around 20% will need it for more than 5 years. Right? You don't need $2 million to prepare for this. You need a plan. Whether that's insurance, a hybrid policy, a Medicaid strategy, or just understanding the odds and setting aside a dedicated reserve, planning beats panic every single time. Every one of these risks is manageable, not with $2 million. With information. Now let me tell you something the industry really does not want you to hear, and I need you to lean in for this one because this is where it all comes together. The man at the barbershop, with his $280,000, is in a stronger position than he thinks. Let me show you why, you see. He's 62, still working. If he keeps going until 67, full retirement age, and claims Social Security at that point, his benefit at average earnings would be around $2,000 a month. His wife, similar age, similar work history, let's say about 1,800. That's roughly $45,600 a year in Social Security between the two of them. He said his annual expenses run about $62,000. The gap is $16,400 a year. At 3.5%, he needs about $470,000 to cover that gap. He's got $280 now. He's still earning. If he just contributes $500 a month for the next 5 years with a modest 7% average return, that $280 grows to roughly $430,000 by 67. But here's the part that changes everything, He's now eligible for catch-up contributions. At his age, 62, he qualifies for the new super catch-up under the Secular Act 2.0. That means he can put away up to $35,750 a year into his 401k. $24,500 regular limit plus $11,250 in super catch-up for people aged 60 to 63. If he maxes that out for even 2 or 3 years and his employer kits in a match on top, he could blow past $470 before 67. The man who thought he was broke is 5 years away from being fully funded. He just needed somebody to run his actual math instead of handing him a magazine headline, right? And that brings me to the real problem. The industry doesn't run your math. The industry runs their math. Their projections assume you want to replace 100% of your pre-retirement income, you see? They assume you're going to spend the same amount in retirement as you did while working. But the BLS data says that's flat out wrong. Households 65 and older spend about 21% less than households 55 to 64. Spending drops, commuting costs disappear, work clothes, lunches out, dry cleaning, gone. The mortgage is often paid off or close to it. The kids are off the payroll. Your actual cost of living in retirement is almost always lower than what you spent while working. But lowering the target doesn't sell products. It doesn't justify the 1% annual fee on your accounts. It doesn't generate the urgency that makes you open a new account or buy an annuity. So they keep the number big. They keep you anxious. And good men sit in barbershop chairs feeling like failures because they measured themselves against a number that was never designed for regular people in the first place. If this is changing how you think about your retirement, hit that subscribe button right now. I put out a new video every single week, breaking down the real numbers. No fear, no selling, just the math that actually matters for your life. And send this video to somebody who's been stressing about that $2 million number. They need to see this before they make a decision based on fear instead of facts. 3 things I want you to take away. First, stop measuring yourself against a number that 98% of the country can't hit. 1.8% of households have 2 million saved. That means the other 98% are figuring it out with less, and millions of them are doing just fine. Social Security wasn't designed to be everything, you see, but it was designed to be a floor. And for most couples, that floor covers 50 to 70% of basic expenses. The gap is smaller than what any headline will tell you. Second, run your own math. Take your actual annual expenses. Be honest, subscribe your Social Security income. The difference is what your portfolio needs to generate. Divide that gap by 3.5% or 4%. That's your real target number. For most American couples with average spending and 2 Social Security checks, that number is somewhere between $350,000 and $600,000, not $2 million. If you're in that range or closing in on it, you're not behind. You're in the game. And if you're not there yet, you know exactly what to aim for now. Third, question who benefits when you feel like you're failing. Your advisor's fee is a percentage of your account balance. Bigger balance, bigger fee. Every article that says you need more is funded by companies that sell products to people who are scared they don't have enough. Right. I'm not telling you to ignore all advice. I'm telling you to follow the money. When someone tells you to panic, look at who profits from the panic. The man at the barber shop, I ran into him again about 3 weeks later. Same shop, same chair. He looked different, not worried. He said he went home after our conversation and actually sat down with his wife and ran the numbers, their expenses, their Social Security estimates, the gap. He told me, well, you know what? It was the first time in years that I didn't feel like I was drowning. The number was right there. It was always right there. I just never looked at it the right way because every article I ever read made me feel like I was already behind before I even started the math. His wife looked up the data too. She found the 1.8% stat, and she said, so basically the entire country is in the same boat as us and nobody talks about it? And he laughed. You see, first real laugh I'd seen from him. He said, Yeah, that's pretty much exactly it. That's the truth about $2 million. Almost nobody has it. And the people who don't, most of them are going to be just fine if they stop listening to the fear and start looking at their own numbers. You were never behind, You were just measuring with the wrong ruler. Drop a comment. Tell me where you are. Not to brag. Not to feel bad. Just to show the truth about where this community really stands. Because I guarantee you, the comment section on this video is going to look completely different from what any headline would have you believe. And when you see how many people are standing in the same spot you are, you're going to realize you weren't alone for a single second. You just didn't know it yet. Now, if you want to know the exact age you can actually stop contributing to your retirement accounts, because for a lot of men, it's way earlier than they think. Go watch this video right here where I break it all down with the real math. Might be the most important 20 minutes you watch this year. I'll see you there.